excited to have you on today. So, Carla Garcia, and you work with chronic pain, right? And so today, that's just something we're going to talk about with wholeness and how chronic pain affects us. And so, just give us a little bit about you and kind of let us know what you do.
So, my name is Carla, and I am a Latina therapist and chronic pain coach. So, I wear a couple different hats, but the main thing that I do is help folks that are suffering with chronic pain or other chronic symptoms, and I help them heal using a very mind body holistic lens. So, I really get to dive into, you know, the person as a whole individual and not just like bits and pieces, but everything, like really get to know them, like what's going on in their life, how I can support them, how we can help, regulate their nervous system. So just taking an overall holistic lens when I'm working with chronic pain. And so it involves, emotions, helping folks reducing stress levels because chronic stress can lead to sensations or symptoms being activated. So a very relational approach as well, being very authentic and genuine with my clients and making sure that they feel safe in this virtual space with me because I meet with all of my clients virtually, not in person. But that is my goal, to help them feel safe, to make sure that their nervous system feels safe with me and that they are able to help their nervous system even outside of the space together. So I've been doing that for about 4 years now. Before that, I did a lot of community work. My interest was in giving back and working with young teenage girls. So I volunteered and would take them on college trips. That felt really important to me, and it still feels important to give back to my community. So, I think that the fact that I'm in the social work field wasn't a coincidence. My heart is in the right place, and I just want to continue to give back, and helping folks heal their chronic pain is just another way that I get to do that. And I feel so happy and honored to do that.
That is awesome and is really good work. I've had some experiences with chronic pain, things that doctors couldn't figure out. So it would have been good to have someone that just sort of focuses on that, specializes in it. So I definitely love what you do. And so tell us where you're from. And so do you service people outside of your locality?
Great question. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I am still local till this day. I don't think I would ever move out of the state here of California. It is my home. But the great thing is that I connect with people all over the world in different states, in different countries, different cities, because all of the work that I do is virtual. So I am able to connect with anyone, no matter where you are. We make it work, even though there's a time difference there, but we just find a way to make it happen.
That's awesome. Look, I'll have to sign up. I'll have to be a guest of your services because I do believe that chronic pain can be, physical, but it also affects you mentally and spiritually. And so, what are some of the things that you would recommend to any of your clients as far as how chronic pain is affecting other parts of their life?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is helping folks to understand the importance of slowing down. We're living in such a fast paced society nowadays, and that keeps our nervous system and our bodies so activated, right? We're overwhelmed. We're taking kids to school, work, attending meetings, receiving emails. Like in this time, we're just so connected, and it can be a beautiful thing, of course, to
Hmm.
have social media and all of these other platforms. But that means that we're much more accessible now than we were years ago. So that keeps our nervous system, feeling more on edge, right? We're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, so much information that we're taking in. And that can feel like a lot to our nervous system because as humans, we weren't really meant to have all of the things that we have access to now. And so I really teach my clients to slow down, take a breath, journal. I know you and I spoke about this earlier about the importance of meditation and how we can pray, and that's also a form of meditation. Just kind of seeing what feels right for you, but attending to your body. I think a lot of us, including myself, before I got into this work, I was walking around feeling more disconnected from my body, and I was just all in my head and trying to problem solve and figure things out. But it's so important to drop into our body and check in with it from time to time. How is it feeling? What are we needing? Am I doing too much right now? Is there space for me to slow down? And you will almost immediately see how appreciative your body is when you do push on the brakes, right? Because we're always on the go.
Oh man, Carla, I'm guilty. I'm so guilty. Like you were saying that, and I was like, oh gosh, do I ever do that? Do I ever check in to see like how my body's doing? And I will know that I'm at a limit and I'll keep going because I'll just feel that, I have to. Who's going to do it if I don't, right? And so I feel guilty, but you're giving me some insight and you're giving me some things to, really think about and think over. So I appreciate that. Another question I have, is there any experience you have? Of course, there be no information given as far as the client, but what's the situation you dealt with chronic pain that was successful?
Yeah. I'm reflecting back on some really special clients that I've worked with, and all of them, hold a special place in my heart. But there's a client where I believe it was maybe over a year that we, got connected. We started working together, and she had came in to sessions with me and kind of telling me, I'm a little worried because I tried a different program and it was just a lot of pressure and it didn't work out for me. It was too much. And so she was, feeling some anxiety, some fear about working with me, right? Someone else that claims to be able to help her in her situation. And she was dealing with chronic pain. She was wheelchair bound. She wasn't able to, cook dinner for herself, go outside. She used to live a very active life where she was hiking, road trips, just everything, a very, very active person. And so when she developed what doctors had diagnosed her with fibromyalgia and long COVID, there was so much fear, right? That diagnosis alone instilled so much fear because these medical terms can sound very scary to us, right? We don't know. And so we're terrified once a doctor says you have this and this. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're doomed, right? Where do we go from here? Is this permanent? Am I going to live the rest of my life in this way? So naturally, when we started working together, she was very afraid, was very uncertain around what her healing journey would look like. And I took the time to establish a relationship with her. I understood that that was like one of the foundations that was important in this work of helping her feel safe with me, helping her understand that I'm there for her. And that she can confide in me and talk about, whatever comes up for her, and it's a safe space. That I think really led her to open up to the approach that I bring in, the mind body approach. And through that, we were able to decrease her sense of fear and empower her to change the relationship that she had with her body. Because initially it was one of fear, and she was very fearful of doing certain activities. Any little activity felt like a mountain that she had to like climb up, right? And, cross over. So we took it step by step. And I'm so happy to share that now we still work together because we just have such a great relationship, but she is cured. It took us in a year to get her back hiking. She's camping. She's traveling to different states and spending time with her family because they live out of the state. And traveling was something that she was not able to do because she couldn't get up and walk within her own house. So there was no way that she was able to travel, before we started working together. And, we did it little by little, walking, running. And then she got the courage to go out and hike and kayak because she lives such an active lifestyle. And now she's able to do that again. So there are so many things that, we had to work through. It wasn't easy at all. It took a lot of courage on her end to, kind of drop some of that fear and have a sense of trust in the process as well. But, she's doing amazing, amazing.
That is so awesome. Congratulations to you and her for being able to get back out there and pursue things. I'm often reminded that it's faith over fear, but that is not an easy thing. It's easy to say, but when you're in fear of a thing, it is not easy to overcome those thoughts, those feelings. And somewhere along my journey, I started feeling like my body was betraying me. Like it felt like, who is this person? I began to have chronic symptoms, sciatica, just different things, different nerve endings, I believe, were getting pinched here and there. And so I spent the better part of a year, maybe a little bit over, visiting all kind of doctors. And so your work is very important. It's very needed. I didn't have anyone to advocate for what I was feeling. I didn't have anyone that could support me and say, "You're not crazy." A lot of the doctors I saw, they just kind of gave me their framework of what they were used to. And
Yeah.
so from gynecology to physical therapy to chiropractic, I visited them all and they really couldn't give me a diagnosis of why what was happening. It was just sort of like, oh, well, we'll just try this and we'll try this. And after, a year of things not working, it became very, very heavy to my spirit, to my mind. And like I said, I felt like my body was betraying me. And so usually in our bodies, we feel like we have a lot of control. It's ours. If it's the one thing that's with you your entire life. And so just not being able to identify for myself what's wrong. They're like, so what do you have an issue with? It's like, I don't know. And so just I think that having someone who can walk that path with you is very important, who can just allow you to have the feelings, give you some support to reassure you that you're not feeling these things, but at least, you have someone there that's like, okay, I understand where you are. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. What's different today than it was yesterday? What's a certain thing you do that, sends you into a chronic pain episode? And so I appreciate your work. And if you had, I guess, do you have a mantra or a powerhouse tip that you can give to listeners for them to start that chronic pain journey? Because sometimes it's hard to share with people where you are. I've had the ability to have some access to some women who have shared with me the things that they've experienced, but they weren't willing to look for support or help because it's disappointing or it can be embarrassing. So what's some tips that you would give?
I really like to highlight the importance of, just owning that we are the expert of our own body. Because you're right, it's so hard to advocate for ourselves. It's so scary. This journey can be very isolating. But knowing that you are the expert, right? If something doesn't feel right to you, if something doesn't feel right in your body, then you have the right to speak up for yourself and you deserve, to speak up for yourself. So I think that's something that I like to, plant a seed, for my clients and like just empower them to use their voice, that you deserve to use your voice and you have every right to stand up for, what you believe in, right? If something is just not sitting well with you, then I want you to speak up because that's the best thing that you can do.
Awesome. I don't know how many women struggle with chronic pain in silence, but I
Mm,
can imagine that it's probably a lot.
yeah.
Even the notion that we're the strong ones and you push through, and we typically don't even allow ourselves to rest even when we're ill, even when we're sick. We're like, yeah, I always laugh about women who talk about their husbands or their significant others. And they're like, when he's sick, he act like he dying. He in the bed and can't do anything. And when we're sick, we're still going. We're still going. But how healthy is that? Or how healthy is it that you feel that you can't take a rest when your body's unwell? And so just speaking with you has really allowed me to open up the thought process of how I treat my body, how I allow it to heal from anything. Like I said, I feel guilty because I'm pretty sure I do not. And so I'm learning even in this interview to just really allow myself to have a moment to say, okay, is this what you want to do? You're not feeling that great. Do you want to press through today? How beneficial are you to everyone else around you if you're not, at least 90%, maybe not always 100, but you want to be in a good space. And so I'm appreciative for your work. At the end of the day, when you come home and you've had a long work day and you feel certain pains in your body, but you're convinced it's just that it was a long day and it was overwhelming and it was heavy for you. What would be your take on a day like that for the typical businesswoman?
Good question. Well, I would encourage folks to one, just check in with yourself. What's coming up for me right now? What am I needing? And sometimes it might be something physical like a hot bath. Sometimes it might be, just basic needs like to eat or drink water, because we unintentionally might ignore those signals as well, right? Oh, I have to check this email and then I'll have lunch and then I'll drink water. So checking in will give your body the space to express itself, to tell you what it's needing. Maybe it's a hug, maybe it is a nap. So just checking in alone is already a really huge step. And sometimes we might not have someone that we feel comfortable, sharing our emotions with, or, sharing our day with. So I would say journaling is a really great tool for that as well. If you're like, I'm feeling some anxiety, I don't know where it's stemming from, or I'm feeling, sad, depressed, or low motivation, and you don't have anybody in that moment to speak with or to share with, then grabbing your journal and just writing it out, like authentically, genuinely pouring it onto that page, like whatever's coming up for you without any judgment. And I think that's one of the biggest things as well is whenever you check in with your body and something comes up, or you write something down in the journal prompt that you're, following, not being judgmental, right? Just letting whatever come up without criticizing it, without any extra opinions of I shouldn't feel this way, or why do I feel this way? I should be, X, Y, and Z. Can we just accept what it is, right? That this is how we're feeling, and meet ourselves with gentleness, with some self-compassion.
That is beautiful. Absolutely. I'm taking notes. I am taking notes. Um, so let me ask, do you have any personal experience of chronic pain that led you to this work?
Yes. So before I got into this work, I did have experiences, and I wasn't really aware that it was chronic pain at the time until I started to get into this work. I was like, wow, because chronic pain is when you've experienced a symptom or a sensation for more than 3 months, 3 months or longer. Anything before that is still considered acute pain. So I struggled with chronic knee pain when I was in undergrad. And thinking back now, I reflect on how stressful that was for me as a first generation student. I was navigating college by myself for the very first time. I didn't have any older cousins or siblings. I'm an only child, so that meant that I really had to navigate it all like on my own. My parents immigrated from Mexico in the 90s, and so they didn't go to college. They didn't go to high school. And so there was a lot of experiences that I had to really go through by myself. And they supported me in whatever way that they could, but when it came to college essays and papers and all of that, like I was on my own a lot of the time. And it was really stressful and overwhelming and frightening because I didn't know, if I was going to fail a class. And there was just a lot of pressure there because I care so much about my family. I just wanted to do the best that I could. And so as I reflect back on when that chronic knee pain appeared, I'm like, wow, I was going through a lot of pressure. There was a lot of stress going on there. That could be one of the reasons why I had chronic knee pain. And the really interesting about the work that I do is that sometimes there might not be an injury that leads to the chronic pain, and sometimes there is an initial injury that takes place, and that the brain keeps that pain signal activated when you've passed the healing phase where it should be healed, and it mistakenly can keep a pain signal on. And I think that's what happened to me because during that time, I used to work out, I was in the gym, Monday through Sunday, it was a lot. And so I'm thinking back and saying, I think there was something that I might have not been doing right. And then that pain signal stuck around for more than a year. And it was really frustrating because I had to wear a knee sleeve because of the pain. It was unbearable. And in college, you walk from one class to another, and sometimes it's on the other side of campus. There was a lot of walking, and I was in pain. I couldn't really enjoy that college experience the way that I wanted to because of that knee pain. And I lost a lot of weight because I wasn't working out. I was like, I'm injured. In that time, I didn't know about mind body healing. So I said, my knee is injured and, I won't be able to work out ever again. And one of the things that helped me get better with the information that I know now was the fact that I empowered myself to get back into the gym and didn't let the fear stop me. Because from what we know, like in the neuroscience, about chronic pain, at least unexplainable chronic pain, is that fear can keep us stuck in a fear pain cycle. The fear itself around our symptoms can keep us stuck there. The pain signal doesn't go away because the brain picks up on our fear and thinks that we're in danger and thinks there's a reason to keep this pain signal on. So for me, initially, that fear kept me stuck there. And what got me out was I empowered myself. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to take it little by little. I'll listen to my body as I go. I got back into the gym and then it went away. And I was back to working out. I was back to doing everything that I wanted because I was also an active person. And that was really neat to be able to do the things that I wanted to. And then the second time that I experienced some form of mind body symptom was in graduate school. Again, not a coincidence, right? Both
Yeah.
times I was in college, right? And the second,
Depression.
yeah, I was just, under so much pressure. There was a big exam that was coming up, and I was so scared. Again, no one in my family went to graduate school. I was so scared, and I remember I can see it in my mind, just feeling worried. What if I, fail and have to drop out? And I think for me, like in that moment, that was the worst case scenario. And there was a lot of fear of letting my parents down and my family down. So that exam was like a tiger for my nervous system, a tiger that was on the run chasing me, and I had to escape it. So what my brain did is it activated neck pain, neck and shoulder pain. And it was so debilitating to the point that I couldn't turn my head. I was in tears. And I remember being in the car with my parents, like telling them how bad it was. And at that time, because I didn't know about mind body healing, I went to the doctor because that's what we all do, right? We
Yeah.
think it's structural, it's something physical. I need to see a doctor, get some medication. So that's what they did. They gave me a muscle relaxer. And in that time, it worked, right? The medication worked. But I didn't know that the root cause of that pain was the exam, the stress, the pressure from the exam. Knowing what I know now, I'm like, I feel so bad for that version of me, having to go through that, not having a way to talk to someone about the pressure that I was carrying. And then it manifested into neck pain. And it was awful.
You just reminded me about a moment that I had as well. I had left my second marriage. I was going through depression, but the pressure was on because I moved home to Alabama from North Carolina and I didn't have a job and I didn't know what I was going to do. Uh, but I remember just being overwhelmed and feeling like a failure, really. And I woke up one morning and I could not stand. Like, I remember sliding over to the edge and put my feet on the floor. But when I stood up, when I got all the way up, I couldn't straighten my back. And I remember going to the doctor thinking they're going to be like, you're going to need surgery. Cause I mean, it was debilitating. It was horrible. And the pain was just, I can't even describe it. But he gave me a muscle relaxer. And I was like, really? That's it? And it didn't work. And
Mm.
so I remember feeling just like I hadn't had many health issues at that time. And so I was just like, what do I do? Like, I don't know. And so when muscle relaxers don't work, what do you do next? And I'm like, oh, well, maybe some type of antibiotic or steroid or something will help. And they start talking about all these needles, and I don't like needles. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pray. I'm just gonna pray. But I remember when my finalization papers came in for my divorce and I got my apartment and things were back in alignment. I haven't had that issue ever again. It's never happened again. And I really, really believe that the pressure I was under and just the stress of where I was in my life at that time manifested in my body for sure.
Yeah, the brain will not only respond to physical threats, right? Keep going back to the tiger because
Yeah.
it also responds to psychological and emotional threats.
Mhm.
For me, it was the exam, right? For you, is what you were navigating at that time. And the body said, how can I protect Alisa? How can I protect Carla? I know, pain, right? Because when we're in pain, we get to slow down more. We are in bed resting. We're not like physically getting up and doing all the things that we have to do because our body's forcing us to slow down, to give it attention, right? And that's the only way that it knows how to get our attention. And it works so, so well. So it does that. I know that it's not the
Good.
best, but it's doing it for our protection at the end of the day.
That is so good. And that gives me such a better understanding and perspective of it. Like I said, I felt like my body was betraying me, but it was actually trying to help me survive. It was my own protection. So that's good to even know so that I can have a better relationship with my body. If I know something is willing to protect me and cares about me, I'm usually going to treat it better, instead of thinking my body's against me. Because the older I get, I'm more like, what is happening? Knee pain, as you said. I got into an unfortunate car accident, and I remember the doctor that I saw first that looked at the X-ray. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna have issues with your knees. You're gonna have arthritis." And I'm looking at her like, "Yeah, I just had a car accident. I really don't want to hear that today." But she did. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna have arthritis. You'll start feeling it in a few years." And I was just like, "Wow." And so now a piece of me is sort of like, well, that's my fate. I'm gonna have issues later. And so you're giving me that strength and that encouragement to just say, I can do this different though. I could really treat my body better and allow my body the rest and the relaxation and the time it needs to hopefully be resistant to those things.
You bring up a very important point that comes up a lot in sessions that I would like to just take a moment to acknowledge.
Absolutely.
Have doctor appointments, or like you said, we might experience an accident, and then doctors, not a lot of them are knowledgeable about the mind body healing information, so intentionally they might say things or communicate in a way that instills and ingrains like fear. And again, I know they don't mean to, but it happens, and we walk away from those appointments or those meetings thinking we're in trouble, right? This is going to be me for the rest of my life, right? They said it, they're the experts, and that's what's going to happen. So again, that fear keeps us in that cycle, or we might start, feeling something and we're like, oh my gosh, there it is, right? They said this would happen, but it's the fear, the anxiety that can activate these sensations and keep us stuck there in that cycle as well. But just something to keep in mind when we're having these appointments is we are the experts of our own bodies, and there is power in mind body healing. So if they say something is going to be permanent, it's not always the case, because research has shown that the brain has a lot of power, and if we work to help our nervous system feel safer, we can deactivate chronic pain signals or symptoms.
Yes, I love that. The experts of our own bodies. I'll definitely be taking that nugget away as well. I found it very hard to advocate for myself during my chronic pain issues. I remember, honestly, just to be transparent, I was having more issues in the pelvic area. And I remember them suggesting that I was either, sexually molested or violated in some way. And even to the point of when I said no, she's like, well, it's something you could not remember and your body does. I'm thinking to myself, it's not that. But she didn't really give headway or give an opportunity for it not to be that, because I had been to so many different doctors. It's almost like she approached it like it has to be that. And so I remember trying to advocate for that. And I honestly saw so many physicians. It's unfortunate. But I did, because once I wasn't heard, once I felt like my viewpoint or, my stance wasn't being heard, I just say, hey, I'm going to a different doctor. Second, third, fourth, 16th opinion. But I just knew that what they were doing and what they were giving me wasn't working. And I also knew that they weren't hearing me. And so I just kept trying. And eventually, of course, things turned around, but it took quite a bit of time. And I believe your work can help people see that they can advocate and you can stand on it. You know your body, and you can tell them, hey, this is what I know I'm dealing with. I love the neuroscience part of it. I love how you talk about the brain and I always think about the different neurons and the way the body talks to the brain and vice versa. And I'm always wondering how much of that affects what hurts, what's in pain. I know it's for me, I've always read that what the body has pain in is just alerting you that there's something going on there. And so to hear you say that those, how the body works, those signals are also given in this area, it makes so much more sense. And it just opens up a new perspective. And so I'm just grateful that you were, would come on the podcast to share this. This is going to be amazing for so many women. I love your work. And so I want you to share a little bit about how people can get in touch with you, some of your social media, maybe your website, just some things that you have for them to be able to access and get some resources.
Sure. So at this time, I don't have a website yet, but it
Okay.
is a work in progress. So I am available on social media. Instagram, you can find me under at your pain coach. If you're on TikTok, same username, your pain coach. I am also on Threads now, which is how we connected. So I'm very
Yes.
have that platform and thankful that you reached out. So those are the best ways to get in contact with me. Besides my email, I can share that as well. My email is carlagmsw@gmail.com. In addition to providing one-on-one mind body sessions or mindfulness sessions, I am also a sound practitioner. This came about earlier this year where I noticed that some of my clients were having a little bit more of a challenge with traditional forms of meditation. And I just wanted to kind of open the door for them to explore other forms of meditation. So, just with the use of instruments, relaxing instruments, it's a way for their mind to quiet down, for that mental chatter to quiet down, and just get into a more relaxed state. So in Los Angeles, I am doing what we call like sound baths. And it's a space where we gather in community, we get comfortable. I play the instruments, and then everyone else just kind of relaxes. And some people might fall asleep or they just enjoy, the beautiful sounds. But it's all about relaxation, creating a sense of safety in the body, and just helping the nervous system feel more regulated.
That is awesome. I definitely haven't done that before, but I would love to try it. Sounds very relaxing. I love music. I love sounds and how different airwaves and octaves affect the body. I think all that's connected. And so I definitely think that's beneficial too. So I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing who you are and what you do and blessing us with what you do. And so something that we do here on Powerhouse before we wrap up, we always say, my name is, and I am a powerhouse. And so my name is Alisa, and I am a powerhouse.
My name is Carla, and I am a powerhouse.
Beautiful. And so thank you so much for coming on. And we'll see you on the next one. We'll definitely be bringing you back in the future for sure. Okay, so that's what we'll wrap up. You did awesome. I love it. I love it. You gave such good nuggets. I'm over here. I'm seriously taking notes because even sitting here, so I got called to my son's school and let you go. So I know you have something at 5, but I got called to his school because somebody complained. And so he was calling to the office, but there were 2 police officers there and he didn't really express like what was happening. So I rushed off to his school, but it ended up being student resource officers, a situation where they wanted my son's opinion of what happened. He wasn't in trouble. But all that to say, my back is killing me because of just like how my anxiety rose up real fast. And then I rush off to his school. Then I'm like, and I have a recording. I missed the interview going. And so I just all over the place. And so as I sit here, my back.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in, right? Getting
And
over.
so as you're talking, I'm like, relax, breathe, give your body a minute because you've just been ever
Yes.
since it happened. So this is very, very helpful. It's helping me right now in the moment for sure.
Yes, taking a few deep breaths, right? Noticing when our body gets tight and tense like that, the best thing to do is also allowing it to go limp, right? Notice when it is tight and then intentionally just let your body feel, loose. And that on its own is helping the brain get the message like, oh, I'm okay right now. There's no time
Awesome.
chasing me. I can relax a little bit.
I'm gonna go do that right now because it's like the upper part of my back, which it's been hurting on and off since I left corporate America. So I think it's the stress of what do I do now? Will I be successful? Am I gonna be okay? I don't want my husband feeling like I'm just leaving him destitute to just take care of everything. But I think it's that. And today really, really, really put the pressure on. And so I just feel like I'm holding it all in right now. So I definitely go and just relax.
Yeah.
That'll be my next.
An audio, Alyssa, that I send my clients, but I'm going to send it to you. That way you can use
Awesome.
it if you want to. And yeah, let me know if you enjoy it.
I sure will. Thank you so much. Again, thanks for coming on the podcast. And I would love to support you in any way. So if you ever have anything you would like me to put out on social media to support you, just share it with me and I definitely will. I will follow you on all your socials and I will stay engaging for sure.
So much. When just a quick question, when do you think the episode will air?
I'm hoping the very first week of January. I would love it too. So I'm gonna give us 2 weeks to sort of market and kind of push it out. I'll take some clips from our recording and push, 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 and just get people, interested. And then we'll definitely go live first week of January, hopefully. If not first, definitely by the second week.
No rush at all. Please take your time. I'm so
Yeah,
Thank you again. And same to you. If you have anything that you need support with, please let me know.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk soon.
All righty. Bye.